They're all gone. Not a trace anywhere. Hi friends, I'm Sean the Modern Yeoman, and I am astounded by the cornucopia of berries that we've been getting here in our berry. Blackberries, raspberries, blueberries over there on the other side. Maybe I'll show you them in a minute. The blueberry bush that we planted is actually being quite fruitful, but there's just so many. Like, you just look around and just grab what you want and eat it. I don't know about you guys, but it seems as if things taste better when you've grown them, when you've either raised the animal meat that you're eating or grown the plant that you're consuming. For some reason, it just tastes better. That's a testament, either that's like a psychosomatic thing, or it's actually better because it's preservative free and you've grown it yourself. We actually have been having a lot of homegrown meals lately. I'll show you a video of kind of our standard fare. The video here is some turkey meat, some sweet potatoes, some greens, some cucumbers, all things that we've grown here on the homestead. And that's kind of been our modus operandi, our MO for a long time, is we want to consume as much of our own grown stuff as possible. Obviously, you can't do everything. You can't do salt here or coffee, or we don't do dairy cows, so we don't do the butter. We get all that stuff off homestead. But the primary elements of a meal, a lot of times, are things that we've grown here on the homestead. And it's a rewarding feeling and a tasty feeling. Oh, so good. I could just sit here for the rest of the video and just eat raspberries and talk to you. I'm not going to, but would you blame me if I did? You know, I was initially kind of dismissive on our wild blackberries just because they're pretty tart. But I think I spoke too soon, because if you just wait till they're a little less firm and they're really dark, these things are super delicious. Let's see if I can find some good ones. And we got so many of them too, guys. So many. We've already collected so many buckets worth of berries. I'm always going to be making some jam, and I just can't get enough of them. This is our blackberry plant that it's a thornless blackberry plant that we planted. And we've actually picked it pretty clean. There's one that's on the way. But the blackberries from this thing are delicious. And then, of course, our blueberries. We've got 2 blueberry bushes, one that isn't producing this year, and one that is, which, again, we've picked it pretty clean of good blueberries. Henry has. He loves picking these things. And they're delicious as well. While I'm standing here, the sunflower patch. I planted those sunflower seeds 2 days ago. Nothing's popped up, but I've been watering it every night and keeping an eye out for the little seedlings to come through. I've also been watching out for birds. A lot of you warned me, hey, whenever you spread a lot of seed, whenever you broadcast a lot of seed, watch out for birds, because birds love seeds. They're going to come and eat them. So I haven't really been seeing the birds. I tried to rake in those seeds as much as possible to hide them. But my goodness, things are good. I'm really happy with our orchard. It's something I didn't really plan on when we started our journey into homesteading, because I didn't really know the land that well. But we've come to discover that berries just grow so well here that we're just going to lean into berries, and we have. So good. Update on the breast chickens. As you can see, they're gone. Gone. They're not here. It's actually kind of a wild story. So yesterday, we were all out here doing work in the garden in the morning when it was cool. And I decided to lift the chicken tractor and let them walk around. They're small, but they're bigger, so I figured, they would stay inside. This fence would keep them inside. And I observed them for a good long while, for the whole time that we were out here, a few hours, 2 or 3 hours. And they never tried to escape. They never went anywhere. They stayed pretty much in this vicinity. And I was like, okay, cool. Maybe they're done with the tractor. Maybe I can let them loose. Went in to eat lunch. That was the mistake. I went in to eat lunch, and like half an hour, 45 minutes later, I come back out. They're all gone. Not a trace anywhere. I look around in the woods, gone. Nowhere to be seen. I looked for them down here in the woods, no dice. Over there by the compost and the sunflower patch, nothing. So I was puzzled. What could have happened to 8 bright white chickens other than some sort of mass predator attack? Well, after a good solid 15 minutes of wringing my hands and gnashing my teeth, boy, was I in for a surprise. I walked out here. This is the south side of the barn, the south lean-to, and was looking at these other chickens to see if there was any issues. And lo and behold, all 8 of my white breast chickens were in the A-frame of their own accord. They had somehow slipped through the fence on the other side, slipped through the fence on this side, and all wandered into the A-frame on their own. It's hot right now, so they're kind of bunched up in the shade. And they were just sitting in there, all 8 of them. The other chickens weren't even really bugging them. They were all just kind of leaving them alone. So the door was open, of course. I kind of gingerly shut the door and said, whew. Close call. I was convinced that I lost them, and it was such a... If you've raised livestock and lost livestock before, especially livestock that you've got pretty big plans for, like a breeding program that you're getting into, to lose them all in one fell swoop is so dispiriting. So to go from being pretty convinced that they were gone and gnashing my teeth to they're all here, all fine, all 8 of them wandered over on their own volition, was such a relief. It was so cool to see. So I had them spend the night in here last night. I'm gonna keep them tractored up and keep them in a shelter for the next several weeks at least, because they're still too small. They'll still come through the fence if they want to. So they're too valuable to me. I don't want to lose them. So I did what I had to do, and I kept them in there, and I'm going to keep them in here until they're significantly bigger. Then I'll move them back to the other lean-to with their own coop and everything. But for now, this is where you guys are staying. Little French escape artists. The heat wave continues, and so all the chickens, all the birds are hanging out in the shade. I don't blame them. This heat wave is going to last at least for the next week, probably 2 weeks. But I've said it before, we're in the summer in the south, and that's kind of what you have to expect. That's a bummer though. Right now it's, I think, 95 degrees ambient. The feels like temperature is well above 100 because it's so humid. So I'm cool if my chickens just want to hang out in the shade. In fact, that's probably where they need to be right now. We are going to be getting more turkeys soon. So Laverne is our turkey hen. I'm not sure where she's at. She might actually be laying. She's been laying again pretty consistently. And Lenny, goes back a few videos, but We initially were quite worried about Lenny not mating with Laverne. That has not been the case recently. They've been mating multiple times a day. I've been catching them in the act. And so Laverne is laying eggs, so I think I'm going to save up some eggs and maybe attempt to hatch out my own turkey poults. I don't know where Laverne is. Where are you, Laverne? One odd thing, she does like to hang out in the sun. She likes to sunbathe, and that might be what she's doing. Oh, there she is. So, there she is. Hey, Laverne. She's been laying a lot. I've already collected, I think, 2 eggs from her just in the past few days. I'm going to maybe get 5 or 6, put them in the incubator. Turkey eggs have a longer turnaround time than chicken eggs. I'm going to put them in the incubator, but also Jim and Kathy from Two Turtles Homestead, they recently hatched out a bunch of turkey poults, and I think I'm going to buy some from them just to keep our turkey meat going, because as you saw early in the video, we love turkey meat, especially when it's done right. So we're going to get more turkeys going. So right now we got egg chickens, meat chickens, and meat turkeys on the way. And then of course there's Lenny, who's just our buddy. He's just our mascot. He's not ever going to go anywhere, are you, buddy? That means no. Quick update on the garden. It's going well. We've mostly weeded everything we've needed to weed. This is the okra bed, and put down straw. I talk about our straw mulch program in a previous video, and I think we're mostly where we want to be. Pepper bed, the tomato beds. There's one, the bean bed has a lot of clover in it, which we're going to let that stay as is. Plus some really nice volunteer tomatoes that have been popping up. We've got dozens of volunteer tomatoes that have popped up, and we're trying to hold on to as many of them as we can. The beans are looking good. The tomatoes are looking good. The peppers and okra are looking good. We do have cucumbers. They're looking great. These beds that are currently covered with a cover crop of buckwheat, they are very close to seeding out. We don't want to seed them out because in the next few weeks, Holly and I are actually going to plant squash. I think we're past the peak of squash bug activity. Obviously, we don't have squash, so we don't have to worry about them. So in the next maybe 3 weeks, we'll plant brand new squashes, and hopefully by the time they come to maturity, we won't deal with any squash bugs at all. So I'm going to chop and drop these buckwheats in these beds. Not even chop, I'm just going to pull them up and put them down and let them compost in here. I don't think they've quite produced seeds yet. You can see little seeds starting to form, but I don't think those are mature seeds ready to actually germinate. So now's the time to pull these things out of the ground and lay them down. So that's what I'm going to do right now. The beauty of buckwheat as a cover crop is that it's very, very easy to just pull up. It takes very little resistance to just yank these out of the ground. And they do such a good job of amending the soil. I will heartily recommend buckwheat as a cover crop for anyone that's in that stage where they want a cover crop. Go with buckwheat. The other incredible thing about buckwheat is that it really does keep the weeds at bay. You can't see it from where you're watching from right there, but as I'm pulling up these buckwheat stalks, I'm looking for weeds. Virtually none. This is so good at keeping out weeds, which is part of the reason we use it. I need to use cover crops more in our gardening. It's just such a great thing to do in between plantings. No bugs either. Seems to keep the bugs away as well. The ants, at least. Plenty of pollinators for the flowers, but I'm going to let all of this lay here for the next few weeks. It will amend the soil, enrich the soil. And you know what, honestly, if there's a few buckwheat that grow back, that make it to the seeding stage and grow back, I am so fine with that, because again, they're very easy to pull up. If buckwheat was a weed, I'd be a happy man. It's wonderful to work with. So these two beds, I would imagine maybe yellow squash, absolutely, because yellow squash grows really well here. If it weren't for the squash bugs, and maybe zucchini. I don't know, we'll have to think about it, but definitely squash in these two beds, and maybe that third bed, which has kind of been our play bed for Henry, but we've kind of let it go, but I think we might turn that into a squash bed as well. I'm happy to report no new losses, no new chicken deaths since I started using that homemade pepper spray that I talked about in the previous video. Note to future self, keep using that. It seems to be working. If there's ever a lapse and it doesn't work, well, then I'll move on to something else. But so far that pepper seems to be protecting the chickens against whatever was taking advantage of nesting birds. Otherwise, not much to report today other than those things. Turkeys on the way in the next few weeks, hopefully moving these meat birds back into their intended pen and trying to keep cool. I'm happy with the progress that we've made on the garden. I'm excited to get into planting squash again. It's hot, so there's a limited amount of time that we can work outside. It's either going to be in the mornings or the evenings, or we just have to sweat it out during the day. But boy, when we have the feels like temperature well over 100 and the humidity like it is, it's really not advisable to be out here during the day. But that's okay. I'm doing good maintenance stuff and taking care of things that need to be done. So that's my video journal entry for this Sunday. Thanks for hanging out with me. And until I join you again, please remember in all that you do, slowly, slowly,